I grew up in Pensacola, Florida. You're right there on the Gulf of Mexico, pretty much the last city before you hit Alabama. What can I say? It was my roots, where I was grounded from. I was blessed. Going to my house, it was fun. You know, my mother and father, Geraldine Mitchell and A.J. Mitchell, was tough. Their expectations of me being the oldest in our house was high.
You knew what they expected you to do from the time you got up in the morning to the time you got home from after school to the time we had that dinner and laid down to say your prayers.
Under our roof, there was a very specific set of rules. It was always education first.
My mother was very, very, very clear that if I didn't perform at an A level, because that was the expectation, that she took sports away from me.
My dad was like, you don't have to have one drop of talent to hustle your butt off. So there was never any cutting curves on hustle.
They did rule with the iron fist. There was no playing, but it was in love. We did understand that it was in love.
The first year that I went out to play football was actually the only time I quit something. And I was 7 years old, and I was there for about an hour, and I saw guys hitting each other. Yeah, I want to do this. He simply said this. He said, hey, you get one time to do this. Yeah, I'm not going to force you to do anything, but the next time that you start something, you're going to finish. I was academically blessed. Sitting in the classroom, I could pick things up very quickly and move on.
He's 11, 12, I'm 8 and 9, and that door is locked, that light's on, there's no TV, there's no laughter. I wasn't allowed to come in. It was the next 2 hours on my studies, me and the books. I'd kick the door, stick items underneath there, try to distract him. He never came out to chase me like expected. It was 2 hours later, he just picked me up and threw me down. It was like that was for when I was studying earlier.
Now, he was a joker. There was no doubt about that.
So I would finish my work and found myself through boredom having disciplinary issues.
He got to this one point where he was misbehaving, class clowning a little bit, so to speak. Dad brought him up in front of the class, took off that old belt and laid one on him right there in front of the class.
From that point on, I think that set in motion, his change of attitude towards education.
They just simply explained to me that no matter how successful I would be in life, if I didn't know how to treat people or respected the rules, that I was going to be a failure.
In the 9th grade, he came out for baseball. To put it nicely, he had a very limited baseball skill set.
I wish I could have had a lawyer to represent me, how bad this was. It was so obvious I was one of the best baseball players on this team.
So as the season moved on, Derrick's playing time got smaller and smaller.
One time he put me in, and he tells the other coach to intentionally walk me. Told him that I was going to steal second, and the guy threw me out. And he berated me for saying that I took the steal signal and didn't have it. So he sat me down and said I was suspended for the rest of the season because I was out there doing my own.
And the idea being, well, he's a smart kid and he'll figure out after a while, if I don't get to play, I'm not going to waste my time out here. Here's my uniform, I'll go do something more productive. But he wouldn't quit. And one of the most amazing things I've ever seen is as his playing time dwindled to almost nothing, he would go and check the lineup card, and if he wasn't in the lineup, he wouldn't waste those 2.5, 3 hours. He would sit down at the end of the dugout, take out his books, and study in the middle of the baseball game.
I'd show up with my baseball bag on one shoulder, my book bags on the other, and I'd look at the lineup card, and if we're playing a 7 o'clock game, as soon as the team hit the field, I'd go down to the end of the dugout and I'd start doing homework. When I tell my mom and dad that, hey, baseball is just not working out for me, they told me the truth that they all were in to really get me to focus on football and weightlifting. During our time in high school, we never had a home stadium. We had to play technically our home game in someone else's stadium.
At that stage, he was real developed. He understood, he had instincts.
He was small, but he was fast, and he was like a stick of dynamite. You know, Derrick would hit you and explode you.
What we used to always hear other adults say about watching my brother play was, this guy's special. This kid is special. He does it like nobody else.
It was always about being the best. And I think he had a vision for himself that maybe not everybody else around him saw. This is a picture that Derrick gave to me. We had a little gathering of some of the players and students from Marston High School right around his graduation time, and he inscribed on the back, "Coach Williams, save this for when I'm famous. Thanks for all the laughs on and off the field, Derrick Brooks."
Derrick's recruitment was the closest thing I've seen to an actual circus.
He very astutely chose to only go visit 3 schools.
When it was time to make my announcement, you know, I said, I think I would play a joke on Coach Andrews.
I said, listen, I'm not coming up there and sit in the audience and listen to you say you're going to be a Gator. I said, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm going to come up there and choke you if you give me those kind of news.
He said, Derrick, I really don't want to be embarrassed if I say, well, you'll probably be embarrassed if you don't show up, Coach.